Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, Foxiest of the Hound walkthrough. This is a pacifist run on the hardest difficulty, and we're on mission 14, hunting down the final clues. So this is a level. We have a 20-minute video here, which is the first one of the session, so it enables me to really get deep down and talk about this game, and hopefully give you some hints and tips on how to proceed, because this is when the game gets tricky. So there's been, martial law has been declared, I think, and the entire street is locked down in a curfew. So the police are out, and they're looking for blood. Apparently it's a repercussion of what happened in Golem City, so it's the justification for essentially everything to be hostile, and right now you see me looking for an Emp Grenade. I'm going to be doing this for the remainder of the game, every so often taking a few minutes to check around. It's what you should be doing anyway. In your standard playthrough of this game, about 90% of your time is going to be spent pilfering shit from people's houses or from cupboards and stuff, and it's a lot of fun doing that, and that's what I did on my first playthrough. It was way more thorough than this. As an example of how optimized this run has been compared to my first run, my first playthrough of the game took 10 hours. I did no side missions except for the very beginning one with the Russian guy, and I managed to beat the game in that time. The recording run for this took me 5 hours, so that is literally cutting the playtime in half, because I didn't do all the searching. And a lot of people have been asking me how long this game is, and it's as long as you want to make it, really. I think the main missions are kinda on the short side compared to the last game, but I think that the side missions are probably going to be much longer and much more interesting than they were in the last game. Also guys, there's something really important to watch for here. Watch how bold you can be. So that goes yellow, watch it turn red. See the red? I had a red warning symbol then, which is the closest you can come to an alert. If that fills, it will trigger those extra marks that notify that you've been alerted and someone has seen you. I managed to get into cover and it alleviated it, but it still went red. That is literally how close you can come to being spotted and still get away with Foxiest. Because they saw something and it was looking real bad, but they didn't fill that bar. As long as that bar never fills, you will never have an issue, and it's really important to know. The only reason that happened is because of how aggressive I was being with the cloak, and I was confidently moving through that street. You can take your time and not get anywhere near as bold and as close to being detected as I did, but it proves that you are powerful. You don't have to move around, you know, like a coward. You can be bold and still get good results. Once again, I'm looking in a couple of offices here to try and find an EMP grenade. If you bought one at the beginning of the game, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this anyway, because there are the ingredients at the end of the game in the final boss's room, but I didn't know at the time, so I was quite worried that I wasn't going to be able to do this, because my strategy relied on having a very specific setup, and because of the curfew, none of the shops are open, I don't think, so I was worrying at this point that I wasn't going to be able to show you how to beat the last boss quite easily, and that would have sucked, because I got my strategy to kill the last boss from a tooltip. How the hell does that work? Have you ever got a strategy to beat a final boss from a tooltip? Look, you see, dudes? Ghost and Smooth Operator, and we had a red warning bar. Didn't fill, but it was still there. So it goes to show, as long as they don't get those kind of weird microphone marks above their head that are red that say they know exactly where you are, you will never void your you know, incognito, because they don't know you're there. That's kind of important. Hey, look at me, coming over here, checking out the weapon storage area. I'm like, there's got to be an EMP grenade here, right? But all I could see was bullets. So, yeah, getting a bit desperate, you can see it. But I like that it's got this in, because it shows that I wasn't 100% certain that this would work. Everything else, I've looked really confident, haven't I? I've looked like I know exactly what I'm doing and I know it's going to work. This is the one area that I was kind of not so sure on. And I tell a lie about the full confidence. I didn't think I was going to get Foxiest. I thought I was going to play it again, do it perfectly, and still not get it, because I thought the game was going to fuck me, and I was really worried, because I didn't get any achievements during the endings. I'm like, I've missed it, and then I skipped all that shit, and at the beginning of the credits it popped. I was so happy to see it, but I got visions of it being like, beat the game using a pistol, or some bullshit like that, because there's a lot of secret achievements, and I haven't checked the list, so it could have been anything, but God bless it, it was Foxiest. So we need to move now towards the red light district and towards the theatre. You'll notice that the theatre area doesn't have the red, but it doesn't mean that you can just run around it willy-nilly. There's still bad people there. The difference being is it's not the police, it's the gangs. And I've got a really, really good strategy to get you through this, but it involves moving through the streets. And I haven't had a chance to talk about this, but I get a chance now because this is a long video. What the AI does is random to an extent. They're on a set path, but they can deviate through choice. And I found this out on one segment where there was a heavy dude and a small dude having a conversation. And I saved just at the end of the conversation. One of the attempts, heavy dude turns left, little dude turns right. Another attempt, heavy dude turns right, little dude turns left. No idea why it was different. So there is definitely something to it. If you're getting screwed because it's not working the same as it looks on mine, it might be because the AI is in a slightly different pattern, and I don't know what dictates it and I don't know what controls it, but what I can guarantee is through exploitations of saves, you can definitely get the one you want. And I recommend you exploit saves a lot, because what I did to get these paths that you're watching is I would save at the beginning of a sequence and I would bum rush to a guard. I'd run behind him and I'd follow him to see where he went, to know exactly where he looked. And then I'd make a ton of progress and I'd reload and I would know exactly where that dude was going to be, so I'd follow the other guy. And then once you followed everybody in a set environment, you know exactly where they're facing at exactly what times. And as long as it all works off of that beginning save you have, it's all the same time. So when somebody does something different, you're going to spot it immediately because it's going to be obvious. And that's all I did, guys, to find a lot of the paths. I dropped a safety save, I did some crazy shit, and it worked. And when it worked, I tried it again. If it worked again, there's my strategy. And that's 99% of everything you're watching here. It'd come from being aggressive and doing things that I don't think people think to do. I know there will be some people who do, because there's tons of people who think like that. But I like to look at a scenario and think, it's obvious they don't want me to go this way, so let's go this way, because you never know, once I get past this crazy part, it might be dead easy past then, and you never know what you'll find. So my biggest piece of advice when playing this is trust your augments, pick the abilities that give you the edge that you need, and then use them, and use them in ways you don't think they were ever intended to be used. Like, there are so many opportunities in this game to do cool things, and the only limit is you. If you get creative, if you get imaginative, you're going to find some super cool strategies, and that's all we're doing here. We're just looking for cool strats as I wait for Mr. Sniper and drop a safety save just here. So I think the rain looks quite nice on this game. Not the best I've ever seen, but it's functional, does its job. He's going to patrol the other side, so we're going to walk past him, climb up onto this crazy basilica thing. It looks like an Oculus, doesn't it? But I don't think the roof is open, so technically it can't be one. But it is a very interesting dome in a mounted ceiling. So drop onto the glass, do the Icarus dash to get across here, move the box, come underneath the planks, and then hit here. There's going to be a bunch of dudes walking around, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Icarus dash onto the top of that booth. And do you notice how there's that little platform beneath the like the corporal sign or whatever that is, the military badge thing? That means you're going to land on something, so that tells you that's a good thing. I'm going to now dash from here across there, and because we're of the same level, it should enable me to do this, but be aware. People can see you when you're up here. I'm not too sure if we're glowing as much as it seems like we are, but it seems we're quite the lighthouse in this darkened theatre, so be very careful with this dash. But the dash has incredible forward momentum, so it should be able to do this just fine, but I think I have to stand up to do it. So there it is, telling me I'm going to grab. There's a chance it won't grab, and if it doesn't grab, I feel fear because it happened to me more times than I care to admit. But be careful up here, it's kind of dark. There are holes in the platform that you want to do the Icarus dash to go across. Just like that. At this point in the game, you can have the best recharge on your battery, you can have the most amount of batteries, all that kind of great stuff. I don't, because I've been intentionally abstaining from having them to make the game a little bit more taxing. It still hasn't because, of course, the cloaking device is this powerful, but there's a wonderful grate here that helps us circumnavigate that Ed 209 dude that's just patrolling where the lasers are. and then we're going to be able to hit the office and get out of Dodge. But there's a little bit of a dishonest checkpoint coming up where when you come out on the other side of a cutscene, it drops you in a spot where a dude's staring at you and immediately filling up a suspicion bar, and I don't like that. I think that could have been done much better. But there's a couple of guys in this room sat talking. You can get away with walking till you see the yellow and then hitting the cloak, and all you have to do is hit this door across from the elevator. The moment you go near that door, it triggers a cutscene, and then it's going to drop us in the shit. So watch this. Notice how he's immediately seeing where I am. Either use your stealth or move forward. You can probably move backwards as well, and all we're going to do now, folks, is retrace our steps. The path we got in here is the safest path that I found out. There might be a cheeky way of going out a back door that's super easy, but I never found it, so I'm going to go with what works, and it's just repeating what we've already done, so there's a comfort in knowing that nobody's going to get in our way, except for our buddy here, who... I've never tangled with one of those dudes, but they look pretty fierce. They can hear you too. The robot has a sense of hearing, which is interesting, so be careful. But get in the vent, keep pushing on, and we can move on to the next phase of the game. But as far as the game goes, I think this is going to have a lot of replay value because the campaign is kind of shorter. I think it's going to breed experimentation and replays. It also has that breach mode and DLC, so I think there's a lot of replay value in this. I'm looking at more of a perspective of, I think I'm going to do a run where I don't use any augments. I think I'm going to do an aug-free run, complete stealth, but doing it the old-fashioned way. And that could be really, really challenging. And my only inhibition towards such a challenge is, I really like the ability to jump. I like being able to go high and go up and stuff, and unless you buy that augment for the extra mobility, like I don't even think you can run fast. And that's probably going to frustrate me, because the one thing that I don't really like about this game is how the movement has to be upgraded. I think there should be a base level of functionality for Jensen, and then everything else should be gravy. Like, when you upgrade the jump, it should turn into some ridiculous 90-foot crackdown jump, in my opinion. You know, you should be able to move at the speed of light and shit if you're going to get a super sprint. It should be crazy things like that. There's what we want, and we get the grab. So this is the hardest part of the game for me. Getting out of this window is a work of art without being spotted, because the dude doesn't do what he's supposed to do. He's a tit. So I'm going to open this window and then move to the left. Because I couldn't get through this window. I kept getting fucking caught and being a tit and climbing on ledges and... ugh, the nightmare. So just lightly press jump on this next window, and you should get through. But doing that, harder than anything you've seen. Hardest thing in the world, ridiculously, and it's just because the game is stupid. Adam climbs everything he shouldn't climb. He doesn't just walk through and do an automatic mantle, because it's literally an inch of plastic on his knee that's stopping him from getting through, but instead we've got to jump. And jumping makes noise, so you don't really want to do it. It's preposterous, but it's how the game works, and it makes me very sad. But you can't see a fucking thing here, so I apologise about that, guys, but just... go back through that little shortcut we found, and I'm going to do a hack coming up. I didn't mean to fall down, but once again, the platforming, the precise nature of the movement, and falling off of things is just second nature on this game. I'm going to hack the turret so that it doesn't shoot me, because this thing has fantastic vision. I don't agree with it personally, but it's how it is. I'm going to charge the Icarus dash, I'm going to sprint, I'm going to jump, and then I'm going to dash at the end of my jump. And it gives you the most mobility that exists in this game. It's such a cool thing to do as well. It looks pretty cool. It's fun to do as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to be moving back through the curfew, I believe to another train station, to get to the next mission. You'll notice I can set off car alarms. Car alarms are a good way of distracting guards. Yeah, I need to hit the train station and I need to go back to that other place. But... I think it's the other end of the train station where the people were being really sporadic. Or it might be these guys. Because this looks a little bit familiar. So be careful coming past there, because those people saw me quite a lot. And then down here there's just lasers, so you can either hack them if you want to, or you can use the cloak. It's pretty simple. There's a turret as well, so if you go up against cover, you can remotely hack the turret. All you have to do here, guys, is stop the bar in those... areas of noise on the timeline there. And the thing with it is there's a little bit of delay, so you've got to do it a little bit earlier than you would like, And it's very accommodating, so there are times when you'll miss it and still get it, and there will times where you will think you've hit it but you'll miss it. So it can work both ways, but for the most, I've never had a problem with that hacking. I find it intuitive and completely functional, which is really, really nice. But coming up here, there's one dude, and I couldn't see him for the life of me. And I know he's here, because he's always here, but I couldn't quite tell where he was on his pattern, so you're going to see me be quite tentative, but he's just popped up on the map. So he's just behind that pillar, just past the lasers. I'm going to double check my abilities here so I can use a battery and I can get a nice refill, because I know that having a little bit more of a battery is going to definitely help me on this sequence, because he has a tendency to see you when you move your way up these steps. He doesn't always do it, but he has in the past, so I know, I remembered, and I did this instead. So coming out of the top, I'm going to hug this left-hand wall. I'm going to put as many things as I can between the enemies and myself. A really good strategy that surprisingly works better than you think it would is carrying a box. If you can find a box and carry it, all you have to do is put the box down in front of you and sit behind it. And it sounds silly, doesn't it? I don't know why they don't go, who's carrying that box over there in the shadows? But they don't. So you can use it to your ability to have portable cover. And it looks stupid. It is stupid, but it works. And there are a couple of instances where you can use it to trick cameras, trick turrets, and trick humans. So it's definitely worth experimenting with. I don't quite know the limit of it, because I only did it once, and it was so stupid I couldn't stop laughing. But it works. And if it works, do it. You know, that's my mentality. It's all about finding what works for you. But we've just come back to Jensen's apartment. There was a little transition. And now we're going to be Icarusing to the bottom, and we're going to be going back through the curfew to get to the pilot, and I believe he's going to take us to London. And London is the end of the game, guys, so we're coming up on the final missions. There are two dynamic missions in this game, it seems, on the main mission front. The first is, of course, the bank and the bomb maker, which we chose the bomb maker and missed the bank. And then the second one will be during the convention, where you can do the convention centre without an alert, and it will never show Marchenko that you're there, and then you can fight him, and that'll be the end of the game. Or if you set off an alert, you will be forced to fight him, and then you have to do a bonus mission afterwards. And I only know this because I was checking out the walkthroughs that are already on YouTube. And I love to do that once I've made my own, just to see what the competition is, just to see what people are doing. And the first one that I saw was a Chapter 17. I'm like, what? I've never played a Chapter 17. Is there a secret ending or something? So when I watched it, he was doing something I'd already done, but I didn't do it on Chapter 17 because I didn't have a Chapter 17, so I was really confused. But it turns out on the previous mission, he got spotted, so I think it turns it into a different mission then. So it's kind of dynamic as far as that goes, but don't worry because you're never going to get spotted if you follow my guide. We're going to get through it just fine. And that's the easiest way to tell too on that convention centre whether or not you were seen, because it triggers the boss. If you never get that cutscene of him going, Adam Jensen, you were supposed to be dead, or whatever he says, then you didn't get seen. And boom, you're winning. And I think they put that in intentionally, because they knew sedating 11 people was fucking stupid, yet they still committed to it, and I hate them for it. And I'd love to talk to somebody who thinks that's a good idea, because the stealth, when it comes to knocking out people in close proximity and luring them around, is just not that great. You know, when you compare it to something like Hitman, where that's exactly what that game does, and it does it wonderfully if you know what to do. I ended up carrying a fire extinguisher through the entire level, chucking it at doors to get people's attentions, because it was the only thing I could throw. Everything else didn't work. I tried shooting my gun, didn't work. I tried opening doors, kinda worked, but then they went hostile when I tranked them for whatever reason. So many weird bullshit moments, I was getting very frustrated. But this is the one where it happens differently when I loaded. On this one, see the guy on the car, and then the guy talking to him? The armoured dude, supposed to turn to the left, but he doesn't do it this time. And he gives me an opening to move to the left, rather than go to the right, so I take it. And right now, I don't know what's going to happen, because I've never seen this before. So I'm just like, what is happening? And they both turn the opposite way to what they should have turned. So that just shows sometimes you get these interesting choices by the AI and you need to adapt, because if you don't, you'll get seen. But jump over that, put your cloak on, get behind this, get some energy back, keep on moving towards the puppet show, or the puppet store, and I think you might see me looking in this guy's workshop for some EMP grenades, but I'm not going to find them. I'm going to find everything else, but I ain't going to find what I need. I checked this doorway too, but it's a tougher lock. Fun story, which is not actually fun at all, it's just kind of arbitrary. I dropped a save there, and then I upgraded my hack to see what was in that room, and that room is full of all kinds of goodies, but no EMP grenade. But talk to your pilot. That's the end of the mission, guys. I will see you in the finale. Oh, well, technically the 2 finales coming up. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.